Hello dear chess friends, this is Leonid Kritz for chesslectures.com. Today I'll show you a game from Igor Kurnosov Memorial of 2020, played in Russia. The game is between Vladimir Fedoseev and Sergei Volkov. So let's see what happens. E4, E6. It's not the most popular opening today for black. I think white pretty much everywhere has very good play, and black has little counterplay in French. D4, D5, knight C3, knight F6, E5. This is the only move how white can really play for advantage. The old line with bishop G5 is not so good anymore because of d takes E4, knight takes E4, and knight BD7. Many variations, but overall equality. So E5, knight FD7. And now there are two ways. So the classical has been played more often is F4, C5, knight F3. Afterwards, white plays bishop E3, queen D2, and prepares long castle if possible. There is an alternative way to doing that, and this is playing knight C2. And what the point here is that white wants to play C3 and to be able to take on D4 with a pawn. So he wants to keep the pawns D4, E5. So of course it comes at a price. And the price is slow development. Personally, I prefer the classical F4, knight F3 better. Right, so knight C2, C5, C3, B5. Suspicious move. Black is trying to exchange pieces on the king side and develop his light square bishop. And by doing so, he will solve the main French problem. But again, it costs time and allows white to gain initiative on the king side. F4, B4. So same idea again, so basically freeing the diagonal. C takes B4 and C takes B4. So it turns out that taking on D4 doesn't work. White can play A3, and this pawn on D4 will get lost. Knight takes D4, knight F3. So queen supports. Yeah, and black will be down a pawn eventually. So he has to take on B4. And again, his idea is to develop the bishop. Knight F3, bishop A6, and white plays very direct. He goes for F5, developing very strong initiative against the king. So the main idea of this knight C2 E2 move is that later on white plays something like this, and then the knight will be able to jump to F4 and attack D5, E6, the crucial squares in this pawn structure. E takes F5, so obviously if black doesn't take, then white will be able to take on E6 or play knight F4 and increase pressure against E6, so he has to take. And knight F4, attacking the pawn, preparing the exchange also. An interesting alternative to this move would be to play E6 immediately. This is not very obvious though. F takes E6, knight F4 now. Queen E7 as an example. Bishop takes A6, knight takes A6. Short castle. White is threatening rook E1, rook takes E6. Black's bishop is blocked. Knight C7. Something like knight D3. So white is down 2 pawns, but the king is in the center, and it's certain that white has enough compensation. If he wants to play bishop G5 or bishop F4, then rook C1, rook E1, the queen can get out to A4. Very, very dangerous position for black. And in the game he played knight F4 immediately, which is also good. Because sacrificing 2 pawns is still requires a lot of precision later on, whereas here white is down only 1 pawn and the D5 is weak, so he obviously doesn't need to calculate a lot, it just has a very clear compensation. Knight B6. So if black took, then I can take with the rook, the pawn hangs, so all the same issues like in the game. So after knight F4 he plays knight B6. At the same time now black is defending the pawn D5, both with queen and the knight, and also taking the square a4 under control so that the queen can't get out. So white now had an interesting opportunity, could have played knight h5, a move that's not very intuitive, but the problem here for black is that he can't move the bishop because it has to defend the pawn, g7. It also can't play g6 because of knight f6. So the question would be, what should black do in this position? Bishop takes f1, then rook takes f1, so now the rook is on the f file. Again, white has very good and a very strong compensation here. That's on knight b6. Instead, white now plays e6. Still his position is better, but at least black gets a good square for the bishop to develop. Bishop d6. Now take, queen d3, attacking both the knight and the pawn. Knight c7, e takes f7, queen takes f5 was possible, but here there are multiple issues. The easiest for black probably is just to take on e6, knight takes, and queen e7, exchanging the queens, and looks like black is fine here. So that's why he takes f7, king takes f7, and white made a mistake. He played short castle. I think he should have taken on f5. Black can play queen f6, and here there's plenty of opportunities. Maybe knight g5, maybe just go back with the queen. Even this endgame after taking and king takes f6, now short castle, this looks quite dangerous for black. So pretty sure black would have to take with the pawn to keep the file open, but yeah, then again I can castle and play against on the f file.